Hey, my name is April Cassidy. I'm the peaceful wife and the peaceful mom, and I'd like to invite you to be peaceful in Christ too. A viewer asked recently, do you ever go back to your old self? Do you ever act in your old ways? The first few years of this journey, I stumbled a lot. I did not know what I was doing. I didn't have a mentor. I had over 30 books about becoming a godly wife and woman and biblical marriage ideas that I would read. I studied and prayed and journaled for a good 3 to 5 hours, 7 days a week most of the time. But I messed up a lot. I didn't understand how to think correctly and what the practical things were that I was supposed to do to be a godly wife. And so it was a lot of emotional and spiritual contortion at first. And I stumbled often. And then I would get right back up and just beg God to please change me, help me to understand, make me more like Jesus. I began in December of 2008. It's been 11 and a half years now. Now that I have a much better understanding of God, my husband, God's design for marriage, masculinity, femininity, I don't feel tempted to go back to my old skewed beliefs at all. And those were the things that caused me to do the awful things that I did. It's obvious to me now how wrong my thinking was. So the whole reason that I was controlling, demanding, prideful, self-righteous, disrespectful, bossy, resentful, bitter, and all of that was because of my wrong thinking and my wrong assumptions. I really believed things like my husband didn't love me. I had the responsibility to make other people do what they should do. God was small and wimpy, and I carried lots of power and authority. I had a small picture of God, no understanding of his sovereignty, big picture of myself, which caused a lot of pride. And when you have pride, you can justify just about anything. I really believed that Greg should do what I wanted him to do. I really believed he was responsible for my happiness and that everything depended on me. Going back to my old ways now is about as tempting as it would be for me to want my husband to tear up the new deck boards that he just put down this week and replace them with the old rotten boards that used to be there. Not a big temptation anymore. I am not the same woman now that I was. The old nature is still there. I can still access it. But my desires are totally different now because of Jesus living in me and because he is firmly on the throne of my life. I have a stable spiritual foundation now that's built on the solid rock of Jesus Christ and his word, the Bible, and I have purposely submitted myself to him, not leaning on my own understanding like Proverbs 3:5-6 says, but leaning on God's understanding, expecting his wisdom to be so much higher than my own. And I have humbled myself before God, realizing I am small and weak, and there is nothing good in me on my own. And God is huge and powerful and sovereign, and he loves me. He can change me. He can give me his goodness if I will humble myself before him. Now that I understand who God is and that he is completely good and has good motives toward me, I know he can work through any situation for my eternal good and his kingdom's glory. I know I can trust him. I have tasted and seen how wonderful it is to put all my faith in him. So I don't freak out. I don't ever want to turn my back on Jesus and go back to my old way that leads to just misery. I also know who Greg is now, my husband. I understand his personality. I understand masculinity better than ever. I don't idolize my husband or expect him to be my primary source of contentment, security, and emotional and spiritual well-being. I don't idolize myself or my happiness anymore because I know how toxic that is. Now I look to Jesus to fill me up. I find contentment in him, not in the things, the events, the circumstances, the people, and relationships I have in this world. I know that he alone can satisfy the deepest longings of my heart and soul. I also don't doubt my husband's love now. I don't assume the worst about him anymore, and we have an 11-year history of me seeing that I've been right when I assume the best about my particular husband. But more than that, I know Jesus will never fail me, even if my husband does. If I have him, I am exactly where I want to be. Do I still have temptations? Yes, I am not perfect. None of us will be completely perfect until we reach heaven when God glorifies us. I still have my sinful nature, but my goal is to not access it, but to crucify it every day and not let it rise up. And with God's power, I can do this. I can't do it myself, but with God, I can. Now, sometimes if I am exhausted, hormonal, or in pain, I might say something with an edge of irritation to my voice. But these days, I usually realize it within a sentence or two and immediately apologize. I don't feel tempted to go back to my old ways of thinking, but I do have to watch for pride, fear, worry, impatience, unforgiveness, irritation. As soon as I notice any of that stuff, I want to shoot it down, take those thoughts captive for Christ right away, because I know if I let it sit and brew in my heart or mind, that it's going to cause trouble. I couldn't see what I was doing before, but now the thought of my old self, my old thoughts, my old attitudes, my old words and approaches repulses me. My desire is to stay very close to the Lord every moment. I know I am completely dependent on His power and His help, and that the only reason I can do anything good is His power working in me. My prayer is that Jesus will be exalted in my life and that He might bring hope to others, that if He can change me and He can transform my life and give me peace, He can do the same for you. I'll have the ABCs of salvation at the bottom in the description under the video. I hope you'll check them out. If you don't know the Lord and you want to talk about how you can know Him and how you can have the assurance that you're going to spend eternity with Him in heaven, that you won't have to pay for the things you've done wrong in hell, please leave me a comment, or you can go to my blog, peacefulwife.com, on the Contact Me page. Thanks so much for watching. You are welcome to subscribe, like, or comment, and you can find me on my blogs, peacefulwife.com and peacefulsinglegirl.com, on Facebook at Peaceful Wife Blog, or now on Instagram, Peaceful Wife, all one word. You can also find my books, The Peaceful Wife and The Peaceful Mom, on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, christianbook.com, to find the baby steps of how you can have real peace with God, with yourself, with others, and how you can have the confidence you need to trust in Christ and to give up control if that's a temptation for you, and how to have the strongest marriage possible. My book, The Peaceful Wife, is especially for women who tend to have very strong personalities. The biblical principles that I share work for everyone, but if you are a wife who has a husband that's abusive or a narcissist or is sinning against you in an extreme way, I would recommend that you go get help from someone you can trust in person who is experienced with that, or you can check out Nina Rosner's e-course, Becoming a Woman of Strength and Dignity. Is great for women in really difficult situations, but if you're not safe, please contact the authorities. Please get the help you need for you and your kids to be safe. I'm glad you stopped by, and I hope you will choose to have a peaceful day in Christ.